I never planned to return to Granswood, not even for my father's funeral. But when the lawyer called about unresolved property matters, I boarded a train and told myself it would just be a day or two. In, out, and done. No ghosts, no memories, no reasons to stay. The house looked just as I remembered. Peeling green paint, broken shutters, and that same wind chime on the porch, still missing 2 tubes. Even the air smelled the same, damp pine and rust, like time had waited politely for my return. I started in the attic. Dad always kept things up there, neatly stacked and labeled in boxes that hadn't been touched in years. I found tax papers from the ADS, receipts, some black and white photos I didn't recognize. And then, in the bottom of a crate full of old hiking gear, I found it. A rolled-up piece of parchment tied with string. No label, no folder, just hidden. I sat cross-legged on the floor and opened it. It was a map. Hand-drawn, faded lines, no color. But definitely a map. At first I thought it was something silly like a fantasy game map or a board sketch, but the shapes began to feel too real, too familiar. There was the town square, the train tracks, the river bend. Landmarks from Granswood, but none of them were labeled. Instead, the map focused on what lay underneath. It showed tunnel systems, layered and twisting, and some connected to buildings I knew. The old library, the church, even the playground I used to visit as a kid. Some tunnels were crossed out. Others had strange symbols beside them, like warning signs or ciphers. Near the bottom corner, my father had written something small. "Do not open alone." I don't know why, but my skin went cold when I read that. That night, I stayed in the house. I didn't sleep. I sat at the kitchen table with the map spread out in front of me, tracing the paths with my finger over and over. What was this? Why hadn't he ever shown it to me? And why did he feel the need to hide it? By morning, I had memorized the map. I knew which tunnels looped, which ones dead-ended, and which ones were marked with that odd, spiral-like symbol. There were 5 of them, 5 spirals, each in a different part of town. The closest was beneath the church. Granswood had one church. White stone, rotting steeple, stained glass like melted candy. It sat just north of Main Street and had been abandoned since I was 15, when the roof caved in after a storm. By noon, I stood in front of it, map folded in my back pocket, flashlight in hand. The front doors were chained shut, but I remembered a gap in the foundation at the rear, a crawl space we used as kids to sneak in and scare each other. I found it, still there, half covered with vines. I ducked low and slid inside. Dust and cold wrapped around me like a wet cloth. My footsteps echoed on the cracked tiles. Every window was broken. The altar was gone, just an open cavity where it used to be, but I wasn't here for relics. I walked down the center aisle, the floor creaking beneath me. At the far end, right where the spiral symbol had been marked on the map, I saw it. A slab of concrete, perfectly square, in the middle of the floor. I knelt and brushed it clean. No markings, no handles, just a slab. But when I pressed my palm against it, it moved. Not a lot. Just enough to hear it scrape against something below. A hollow sound. My heart jumped. I stood up, hesitated, and looked around the ruined church. Nothing. No wind, no birds, just the heavy silence pressing in from all sides. I pried at the edges of the slab with my flashlight. Slowly, slowly it gave way. Dust poured in like flour, and the smell that rose up hit me like a bag of damp earth and copper. Beneath the slab, a hole and a ladder. Metal, rusted, disappearing into the dark. I didn't think. I descended. The air grew colder with every rung. I counted 30 steps before my boots hit the dirt. The tunnel stretched out before me, just like the map had shown. Arched stone walls, bricked support beams, every surface slick with condensation, and walked. Each step whispered through the narrow hall. Every so often I stopped to listen, and once I could swear I heard something else breathing. The tunnel forked twice. I chose left both times, staying loyal to the route on the map. The walls narrowed. I had to duck. My shoulders scraped stone. Then a chamber. It opened without warning, like walking through a keyhole into a room that wasn't meant to exist. High-ceilinged, circular walls. Carvings I couldn't read ran along the top edges, chipped and ancient. And in the center, an object. It looked like a chair, but not for a person. Too wide, too low, carved from some black, porous stone. It vibrated slightly, like a tuning fork caught in silence. I stepped closer, and the hair on my arms stood up. All around the base of the chair were metal rods. Old, bent, like antennae, they pointed outward in all directions, and on the wall behind it, more of those spiral symbols painted in red, or something red, and it wasn't dry. I froze. Then something moved, a faint rustle from the tunnel behind me. I turned off my flashlight, held my breath, listened. No footsteps, just wet breathing, in, out, slow, ragged, not mine. Then silence again. I didn't move for a full minute, not even a twitch. When I turned my light back on, nothing was there, but the chair was humming louder now. I didn't touch the chair. Not then. Not with that humming in the air and the memory of that wet breath still curling in my ears. I backed away slowly, flashlight aimed at the tunnel mouth, half expecting to see a shape crawling into view, but nothing came, no footsteps, no sound, just the steady hum that now seemed to pulse beneath the stone floor. I turned around and retraced my steps, map clenched in my fist like a lifeline. Every turn felt tighter than before. The tunnel didn't feel empty anymore. It felt like something had woken up behind me. And it wasn't in a hurry. It was waiting. Back at the ladder, I climbed without thinking, 2 rungs at a time. My hand slipped more than once, the metal damp and rusted. When I pushed the slab back over the hole and sealed the church floor above me, I realized I was shaking. My heart wasn't slowing down. The map was still in my hand, but I couldn't bring myself to open it again. That night, I stayed in the house again, sitting at the kitchen table just like before. The silence felt thicker. I kept turning the flashlight on and off, as if expecting the power to fail. I didn't eat. I didn't sleep. I just watched the shadows grow longer as the hours passed. By morning, I'd made a decision. I'd burned the map, not just to destroy it. I wanted it gone, completely erased. I tore it into strips, fed it to a small fire in the sink, and watched the smoke curl up toward the vent. The parchment didn't burn easily. It twisted, blackened, and released a smell I couldn't place. Almost sweet, almost rotten. But I kept going until every piece was ash and nothing remained. Then I packed my bag and left Grenswood for the second and final time. But I never stopped thinking about the tunnels, the spirals, that chair. For weeks, I couldn't sleep with the lights off. I kept expecting to hear breathing behind the walls. I told myself it was just leftover fear that whatever was down there couldn't reach me now. Then the letter arrived. No return address, no stamp, just a single sheet of paper in my mailbox one morning, folded in half, my name on the outside. Inside, a sentence written in my father's handwriting. You shouldn't have left it alone. No signature, no date. Oh, just that. I never went back to Grenswood. I never opened my basement door again. And at night, when the humming starts, I pretend I don't hear it. If you enjoyed the story, like, comment, subscribe, and share it with someone who loves a little mystery. I'll be right here waiting with another tale very soon. Take care and see you next time.